Hey, do we have,
Check, 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 check. I don't know.
hello? Can you hear- They're coming through that. Yeah, could you guys turn your microphones on
Place
to make sure they're warming up?
Lemonade.
Mine works.
Check, check.
Can-
Is
Hello. Let's
Check.
talk about things. Can you hear me?
Is it white or red?
Hey, people on the Zoom, can you hear Jen Straub?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, Chantra.
Check, check, check.
We got to win this race.
Testing, testing.
Can anyone on the Zoom hear us?
check, check. Is
Yes, we can hear you.
yes.
Oh, Katie Harmon says yes. Katie Harmon, would you mind speaking to us so we know that we can hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. All right. Success.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, with that sound check, I will now call this meeting of the Champaign County Mental Health Board, Wednesday, September 18th, 2024, 5:45 p.m. to order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Lisa Liggins Chambers,
Present.
Chris Minor,
Here.
Tony Nichols,
Present.
Joe Omo Asagie, Elaine Palencia.
Yes.
Jen Straub,
Yes.
Jane Sprandel,
Yes.
John Paul Joachim,
Here.
Molly McClay.
Present. And next, we have approval of the agenda. We do have a slightly revised agenda that has been, I believe, passed out to board members and posted for all. So I would like to entertain a motion to approve this revised agenda. Can I get a motion?
So move, Straub.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table to approve the agenda as revised. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a second. Our motion on the table is to approve the agenda as revised. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Next, we have the CCMHB and DDB schedules and an updated MHB timeline on pages 3 through 8 for your information. Any comments or questions or discussion about this? Lynn, anything you want to add about the current items?
Very exciting news. It's already on there, but so it's not really news. We have a study session next week. Like the most fun study session ever. You're going to love it. And then on October 16, you have another study session. And then on October 23rd, a meeting. So there's a lot of fun things coming up. Okay, bye.
2 study sessions before the next meeting after 2 months of, or a 2-month gap between the last meeting and this one. It's going to be a study session packed month. All right. Next, we have the CCMHB acronyms and glossary on pages 9 through 20 for your information. Any discussion? Any new acronyms to report?
Do let us know if there's anything missing. This is I see something missing. We at CESA. We keep talking about CESA and we're going to have to talk about it more. So, but we'll get that for you next month.
All right, that sounds great. Thank you very much. Next, we have citizen input and public participation. As always, all are welcome to attend the board's meeting to observe and offer thoughts during this time. And I may limit public participation to 5 minutes per person and or 20 minutes total. I do not believe we have anybody in the room, but if anyone magically walks in the door in the next 30 seconds, anyone online may also speak. Is there anybody who'd like to share their thoughts during this time? Seeing as there is none, we will move on to chairperson's comments. We have a packed meeting for this evening, so I will, I guess, defer my comments to next time. Lynn was not ready for me to defer my comments, so now she has to quickly make hers. But I can riff for, 10 seconds.
I was just trying to make sure that everyone on the Zoom will sign into the chat. That helps us a lot when we're trying to assemble the minutes from the meeting. And I also put a link to the main packet in there. I would also like to defer my comments. I feel like this very long board packet is a lot of comments already from me.
So we have the chairperson and executive director's comments deferred. So next we will move to approval of CCMHB board meeting minutes on pages 21 to 24. These are minutes from the July 17th, 2024 meeting. Any discussion or revisions needed to these minutes? Seeing as none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Can I get one?
I will move to approve the minutes.
Thank you very much. Very much. There's been a motion to approve the minutes. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
All right, we have a motion on the table to approve the CCMHB board meeting minutes from July 17th, 2024. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the CCMHB board meeting minutes from July 17th, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Next, we have the vendor invoice lists on pages 25 to 46. And we will also need a motion to approve these. Any discussion, questions, or revisions needed?
Hey, Lynn, or staff, on page 34, the $100,000 for advocacy CAR greater community, can you elaborate on what that one is? So on the very top, it's on page 34.
I think the $100,000 payment was to the community coalition, to the Don Moyer Community Coalition program. We pay that all at once because they do all of the programming in the first couple months of so the line that you're seeing refers to the Greater Community AIDS Project, the new program we're funding, but the cost of that payment was on the earlier page, 5130. Do you see it?
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that.
It's like, unfortunately, it splits in the description from the cost, which, sorry about that. These are automated from the county's ERP. I'm not going to say anything bad about the ERP.
Thanks.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, I'd like to move to approve the vendor invoice lists as written. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, there is a motion on the table to approve the vendor invoice lists. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Next, we have the staff reports on pages 47 through 64. We are zooming through this packet. I love it. So we have, for information only, reports from Kim Bowdry, Leon Bryson, Stephanie Howard Gallo, Chandra Somerville, and Chris Wilson. Executive Director Lynn Canfield was very, very busy also this last month and was also on vacation in Greece. So she is exempt from a report.
I don't normally do staff reports, but like try to give you one every couple times a year because there is similar to what the staff are doing. There are just a whole bunch of committee engagements and little things that we do here and there that they're not we're not really going to focus on them during a board meeting, but they might be important to you. So it's good for me to list them sometimes so that you can see it. So, I mean, you're familiar with the structure of the staff report, so mine will be like that, but just for a bunch of months in a row, so.
Very good to know. Any questions, discussion on the staff reports? Everyone has been very, very busy this month. The fourth quarter reports coming in, lots of discussions around financial requirements. So I really, really appreciate everybody's efforts this last couple of months. Next up, we will move to new business because we are already there. So first we have the strategic plan with draft 2025 objectives on pages 65 through 101. So I'd like to turn it over to Lynn to share more about this.
Hey, Leon, do you want to do it? No. This is a collaboration.
The floor is open to any staff members who want to contribute to this section.
Testing. Okay. So, so this was a collaborative effort that we undertook in terms of just working on the memo. And again, this is the strategic plan for the 2022 to 25 draft with objectives for 2025. And so what you have in the memo is basically staff, we're continuing to partner with Vermilion County. We're working with the Champaign County Behavioral Health Work Group. We also sent out an email to to all of the agency leaders to get their input on, what are some of the gaps of services that they're seeing with individuals that they're serving. And so what you'll see is the feedback is included in this packet. I don't know what else you want to add, Lynn.
I thought it was amazing how much input you actually got at this early stage. So it's all included in here. I appreciate you doing that and started the process a long time ago. So it was nice to get all that feedback. But now today or maybe tomorrow, he'll be sending it out for more feedback from agencies and other stakeholders. I don't know, I feel like they already told us a lot and we tried to use it in this and in the priorities document. Thank you, Leon. I'm sorry to just throw that at you.
That is okay. I should be ready to go.
I should have stalled for you, so you had a little more time. I just wanted to comment that then the emails, Leon, that you sent to agencies, I thought that the way you framed this and asked for feedback was just so inviting. I was like, I want to share my knowledge with you. I guess I am right now, but thank you for reaching out to the agencies and to everybody who offered feedback. I think it's very, very helpful to this process. Any other discussion about the strategic plan?
Can I say something? I just want to go online and say that I really appreciate agencies that respond because it means a lot, because it lets us know that it gives us some kind of guidance in terms of the direction we're going in. And so when agencies respond, and we take it serious, whether it's regarding a fourth quarter report, regarding feedback on what are some of the things that they're seeing in the field. So just for those who are listening online, we really appreciate your feedback and continue to be responsive as you can be. So thank you.
Thank you for saying that. I want to just add that, yes, we try to use everything. If it's something we can't directly help with, we can make it an advocacy issue. We really trust the feedback that we're getting from folks. They're putting it in writing and allowing us to make it public. So we tried to respond to everything. If it doesn't fit really well into something you could fund directly, which there's a whole lot of stuff that you can't do. But we can advocate for changes in the larger scale system. And we did get a really great comment from a board member about equity for everyone, regardless of insurance or other pay source. And that, I think, that's a national advocacy perspective that we need to get more involved in. And there's been some progress just this week in the mental health parity enforcement. So, I mean, I don't know whether I should be hopeful or put any emotions into it, but it merits our attention. And it was nice to see that comment from a board member. So anyway, thank you.
Any discussion from board members?
I will just say that, yeah, I like looking at the feedback, but I am still getting random comments from people because they know I'm on the mental health board as to how to access services. And these are not necessarily people in crisis, but just people that I know and it's still a problem, how to figure out the point of contact if you have a problem. So I think we have to keep thinking about that.
Thank you.
Well, and the wait is something that I hear a lot of people complain about. And I think I'd shared personally, we were trying to see a psychiatrist and we couldn't see anyone locally at OSF. But if my daughter would drive over to Danville's office and do a telehealth with the psychiatrist from Tennessee, we could get her in the next week. I'm like, okay, so that's what she does. She drives there, I don't know, every 6 weeks or whatever. So, but yeah, I think that, and I guess what was disheartening to me is sometimes when people are ready to get help or admit they need some assistance, if they're told, hey, we'll get back to you in 3 months or 6 months, it's, so disheartening. And, we've had our doctors even say that, there's such a lack, there's a lot of hurdles for people to get certified. And I wish we could snap our fingers and fix that in our communities.
Absolutely. Thank you, both of you, for sharing those comments. Any other thoughts? All right. Well, seeing none, we will move to our next. Oh.
Hello. Just letting you know, Jim Hamilton at Promise said psych appointments are the same week. I can get you a psych appointment tomorrow. No lack, no hurdles. Counseling appointment within 2 weeks. We have access and we have appointments. And so I think it's an issue of choice versus access, if I'm honest.
Well, and exactly, because, I should have tried Promise. I just called who Blue Cross Blue Shield was going to pay. So, but that is good to know for community members.
And he says ages 5 and up for psych and 6 and up for counseling.
I think Promise takes all kinds of insurance, just so.
Well, how can we push that out then so people know about this? Because that's the big issue, is it doesn't matter if we can't get it out in the public and people don't know to go there.
And there's a difference between psych and psychiatrist. Can he clarify if because Jane was talking about psychiatry, right? Not a psychologist.
You mean psychiatry, Jim? He's typing.
I just want to take this opportunity to highlight what Ms. Somerville said about choice in our community being very important. You know, not every consumer is going to mesh with every provider, and there needs to be choice for folks regardless of what their healthcare coverage looks like.
I think kind of piggybacking on that, I have had patients where they go and see the psychiatrist and they don't like the psychiatrist, and then they come back to see me to see if I will manage the patient's medications. And as long as it's within my scope of practice, I'm okay. But if I tell them like the reason I usually refer you is because either we're getting to a point where it's very severe, or it's outside of my scope and we need other medications that are not in my toolbox. One other thing I would add is Gibson City also has psychiatry as well. So I do have some families that go there as well. Gibson City, yeah.
Did they clarify that it was psychiatry? Okay, I'm sorry if I missed that. I wanted to add also that, like, knowing that access information is really important, and also recognizing that, due to a lot of different factors, including staff turnover, like access is not a static thing, like it can vary based on, you know, what time, what week somebody calls, what month. I hope that, you know, a lot of places are able to, you know, keep those wait times low, but I know sometimes at agencies, just losing one staff person can mean the wait list goes to like a month or more. So that's also an important consideration.
So is this telehealth psychiatry, or is it actually a psychiatrist in town, please, from Promise?
So there, Jim, there are you put another comment in the chat, but if you want to go ahead and speak using, you know, like unmute yourself, that might make it easier. And there's a comment from Carrie Hacker from Grow about putting more info, like you had asked, more info out through the community provider network. I mean, it's great if providers know what's available.
Sure. If Carrie from Grill wants to contact me, my email's jhamilton@promisehealth.org. It's J, last name Hamilton @promisehealth.org. Be more than happy to give you some information on all the behavioral health services that we're offering. We have 5 psychiatric providers that will assess and prescribe and monitor medications for patients ages 6 and up. They're local in person at 1, 2, 3, 4 separate clinics located in Urbana, Champaign, and Rantoul. And we also have 5 counseling providers that can provide mental health counseling support for those patients as well.
I'm sorry, did you say you have 5 psychiatrists in person?
2 psychiatrists and 3 psychiatric nurse practitioners.
Thank you.
The places that are full and have these waits, will they actually say, hey, Promise has spots? And I doubt they will, but I mean, they should be. If we're really trying to provide service, that should be something maybe we put in contracts.
Well, I
We
would definitely
occasionally get
Promise.
referrals
I
from
mean,
Carl.
The challenge is providers need to know that these resources are available. Like, I had no idea there were 2 psychiatrists from Promise that would take clients. You obviously didn't know either, Jane, because your daughter goes all the way to Gibson City, Danville.
I think these are all really, really important points, and speak to both like the access and the choice issue, and also making sure that the access and choices are known about with more widely within the community, which is partly why in our mental health board contracts, we do require collaborative relationships, collaborative agreements with other community agencies to, in part, to help make sure that we can link people to services more easily and make sure that services are known about as well. I hope I didn't speak out of turn about the collaborations.
Well, we don't have any contracts at all through which we could leverage any conditions like that through at Carl or OSF, which are the ones with waiting lists, and right. We don't have any contracts with them. We can make a suggestion.
I guess what I was speaking to was with the contracts for the agencies, the programs that we fund, we do require some level of collaboration. So that's an opportunity to make sure that services are known about and linked to appropriately. But that's a very good point that, you know, some of the largest service providers in the community, we don't have that ability to require that collaboration with. Go for it.
Just to thank Carrie Hacker from Grow, because that is the spirit of that part of the contracts. Like, I think that some of these agencies take that very seriously and do really try to understand the resources that are available to the people that they're working with, because choice is really important. So thank you, Carrie.
Well, thank you, everybody, for this discussion. Any other comments? All right, well, seeing as none, we will now move on to our next item of new business, which is the draft funding priorities for PY 26. These can be found on pages 102 to 117 of the packet. And I invite Lynn, or whoever Lynn would like to designate, to share more about the funding priorities.
This is similarly, we have used a lot of input that we were fortunate to receive so far. I really like putting this together because when we have lots of info to combine, so it was really fun for me. But we also have until November, like till maybe Halloween. Is that the deadline y'all are given for more information from stakeholders? So this document and the DD one, which is on the same timeline, are being shared with a large stakeholder set for more feedback, but also, you know, please feel free to give us any more feedback that you all might have, even though we have taken what we've heard from you and tried to incorporate. We've asked certain board members about specific things they knew more about and tried to incorporate that, but there's still, this is just a draft. The final version needs to be approved before we open the application system, and there's a little bit of there's the public announcement of the application system. So ideally, finalizing a version of this at your November meeting will allow us a generous timeline for all the things that come next. You're not bound to that. It's just, it's kind of a nice time frame. But anyway, so this is a draft. It's open to more changes. It's very long. I don't really want to read it to you or give you an overview even, but I do want to point to one thing, and that is the additional, like a new priority. We maintained the 4 priorities that have become sort of classic, and they sort of, to me, they sort of relate to like what community mental health boards can do well, you know, like where are the opportunities, but there's this new one that is really kind of maybe the responsibility of lots of other authorities, and that's strengthening the behavioral health workforce. I am not sure how much one single small mental health board can really do to this, but it's so important, and you all know a lot about it. So I decided, let's put it in there and see what happens. And we can certainly track introduced legislation. We can support, you know, larger scale efforts which might be introduced, but we might as well see what could happen locally. That, you know, there may be some really nice small scale successes here that we could share with others someday. So just felt like it was time to put this in here. There's a lot of expertise on the board already about this. So that's the big news. Everything else is updated from prior similar documents. That's the big story.
I like it. I approve of big reaches.
I also wanted to add, my understanding is partly that there were some state legislative changes that granted mental health boards greater capacity to do certain things in this area. Would you speak to that a little more, Lynn?
Well, thank you for mentioning that because I wrote them. Yay. So that is we have legislators from other parts of the state trying to fix the statute that establishes mental health boards, to fix the statute so that it's a little bit more protected from like the chaos of political life. I think that's going to be impossible, but good for them for trying. So we took the opportunity while they were doing that to add things to the statute that give mental health boards more specific authorities. Prior to this, you could fund scholarships, but scholarships are really not a good match for a local entity because you have no way to keep people here. And this community is all about large educational institutions which train people to go somewhere else. So why would you spend local tax dollars on a benefit to another community, except that it's the right thing to do in the big picture? But like so we added to the statute things that might be more appropriate to a local entity. Like you've got people already working in the system, they could fill gaps for more specialized roles if you could help them go back to school for a certification or a master's degree through a stipend. You can put some conditions, but you cannot make people stay somewhere afterwards. So constructing some of these new possibilities could be really hard. It might be a trial and error, but I have some templates, and I think it'd be interesting to see what the agencies think of. Like if it's just bonuses to staff who aren't leaving, then yay, maybe that would work. But just kind of now the mental health board has the authority to fund such things.
Well, you can also always tie a certain amount of time to stay to the money, like they do with the Golden Apple Award for scholarship for teachers. You have to stay in the state of Illinois after you graduate for a certain amount of time, you know, so
there are ways to do.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I've kind of been like hoping since I've been on the board or thinking about like what can we do to help retain, like recruit and retain individuals into this profession and not like continually lose them. I know that, you know, pay in this profession of mental health services has been historically an issue. A lot of people leave for private practice, for example, and things like even getting clinical licensure within various different mental health professions is very difficult to come by without having to pay for it. Having, you know, not been offered licensure supervision in my jobs early on in my career, and now I work with individuals whose employers don't offer that and they have to pay somebody for that. So being able to offer things like a stipend or just higher salaries are really crucial to keeping people within this profession and keeping people working within this community. So I'm very much excited about this priority and would still love to hear from any other folks who want to share other comments on this.
I just want to say thank you, Dr. Lisa, for helping me with that section of the priorities memo.
Something that I have noticed recently is that as far as applying for clinical licensure is that you can do that online now. And I think that's changed within the last month. And so in the past, I don't know if that's improved as far as the length of time it takes for them to approve the process, the application, but I think that is a little bit better than sending in paper. I know people that it's took at least like 6 months for the state to approve licensure. And so that's after they've gone through, you know, bachelor's degree and the master's degree, and then they're applying for licensure. And then it takes another 6 months for them to be possibly employed. to have a license. And so that is a step in the right direction, but would like to see a little bit more effort as far as approving the applications.
Is that, which license are you referring to, please?
For that, like the LCPC or LPC or the social work.
And I was gonna say for psychologists, it's still paper.
Yeah, even just comparing to other states, because I've worked with individuals for licensure in other states. Our neighboring state of Missouri is much more online with, so maybe not everything, at least with social work, but yeah. Just definitely have a lot of steps we need to take in the right direction.
I mean, we can consider, some type of stipends to help individuals get their licenses. I'm not sure how familiar the board is with the cost to become a licensed psychologist, but the exam alone is $687.50. That's not including the fee to actually pay for the testing company to sit for the license, which is another, don't quote me, maybe $114 to $25. Then the license alone, plus the study materials can range from about $1,000 up to $2,000. So, you have to watch for coupons, because then the coupons may be 5 to 15% off of $1,200. So you guys do the math on that, but it's very expensive. Another barrier to entry. And so in particular, there are many people in general who just can't afford to get the licenses, not to mention you have to do CEUs and pay every 3 years. So it's truly a problem outside of the actual exams and not necessarily measuring what we do on a daily basis as clinical professionals. So there's a second barrier here called, unfair testing. So there's a lot of different variables that go into play with the reasons why we don't have, or we have a shortage of clinicians, and all of us are stressed because we have 9 and 10, for me, for example, kids to test per week because we can't get enough psychologists to work, simply because of all of these different barriers. So
just to let you know, Carrie Hacker, so what can a small mental health board do? Don't panic, organize. And then Paige Garrison stated that she applied online 3 months ago for the exam and have not heard anything back.
which exam?
Which exam, Paige?
The LCSW.
Just a lot more, a lot of information as to why this category or this priority is necessary and how it's going to, there are things that we can do to try to help, but this is a much larger effort that needs to be addressed at the state and federal levels as well. No one should have to be saving promo codes to take their licensed psychologist exam. That's absolutely ridiculous. Well, any further comments on this area? Well, we have had some great discussion on this. I was worried we were going to be crickets, and then we got going. So very much appreciated. We will now move on to old business, and we have a few decisions that we will need to make regarding some finances this evening. So our first item of old business is on regarding a fund balance transfer, which a decision memorandum can be found on pages 118 through 119. And I will turn it over to Lynn to share more about what this is.
It seems like I wrote this months and months and months ago, and I'm not sure. I think this is actually very simple, very straightforward. There's a lot of words in here about how it happened, how much it is, what happened, but it does occasionally develop that oh my God, we underspent last year. So last year, you had authorized a fund balance transfer when we thought we were going to spend everything we were supposed to spend. But then and this is including like paying off some ARPA costs where we owed people back, we owed the county back for ARPA. So you authorized a fund balance transfer around this time last year, and we were ready to do that. And then we didn't end up spending as much as we expected to spend because we were withholding payments to 2 agencies as we waited for audits. Then this year, we've paid the payments that were withheld last year. So they came out of this year's budget, which didn't include them. So it adds to what we were planning to spend this year, that we're paying off last year's debts. And the amount so we're very early in the year. We won't know exactly how much of a shortfall we really have until around November, but we see it right now. We know what the shortfall starts as. So if we can have your approval to move that money out of fund balance where we had not meant for it to be, and into the active balance to pay for things that we paid for from last year, then we'll be in an excellent position not to have to ask you again this year. Although we may not need all of it. Anyway, so is that simple enough? Okay.
And I think this speaks to the importance of why we have our reporting requirements, our financial requirements, why it's so important to adhere to those deadlines, because having to hold payments and pay them out so far into the future as part of what causes this situation of us having to pay us essentially out of fund balance for something that should have been paid out in the past had deadlines been met. So I just wanted to make that comment.
I mean, we'll probably talk about fund balance again in other circumstances, because this year, for the first time in a long time, we got to the point in the year where no revenue deposits have been made, and we didn't have enough fund balance to pay anybody. So that was very scary. And the deposits then were made. It was really about some recalculations that the clerk and treasurer were doing. So we got the money. We're on track for the revenue we expected for this year. It's just that it came so late, but it revealed to us that we don't have enough in the extra fund balance in the event that can happen, because it actually could happen. So then there are some other things we need to talk about with fund balance, like where we really do need to not just have enough money there to pay bills in the event of very slow revenue distributions or even no revenue distributions, which could happen. We also need to be prepared for liabilities from the fund that are in the fund balance. So like reserved fund balance. Not a conversation I'm ready to have today because I don't have the numbers, but maybe we won't have to have the conversation, but just we need to get used to talking to you about the fund balance. Okay.
Any board discussion on this?
If not, I will make a motion to authorize the transfer of $251,874 from the CCMHB fund balance to cover approved 2024 CCMHB expenditures.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
All right, thank you so much. We have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the table is to authorize the transfer of $251,874 from CCMHB fund balance to cover approved 2024 CCMHB expenditures. Can I get a roll call vote?
Lisa Liggins Chambers,
Yes.
sorry, I lost. Chris Minor,
Yes.
Tony Nichols,
Yes.
Elaine Valencia,
Yes.
Jen Straub,
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, we will then move on to our next item of old business, which is on a decision memorandum with some potential motions on audit requirements and contract cancellation, which are on pages 120 through 129. And I will again defer to Lynn to share more about this memorandum.
So I'm trying to take notes on things I need to do tomorrow. Okay. So this is, it's almost two different things. I have, over the last few years, I have had the experience of each time we as staff make decisions that we're authorized to make related to compliance issues, agencies have tended to come to the board to ask for an exception or reversal of the staff decisions. A few years ago, we changed the funding requirements and guidelines so that additional time for an audit is not a staff decision anymore. We do not have discretion to give additional time. So we just built additional time into the rules. And then there's lots of detail in here about what the rules are now. There's also a paper copy of, where is it? There's a paper copy of the funding guidelines on your desk. It's posted as addendum to this meeting. The most recent version of it is that if an audit is not submitted by the original deadline, then we just withhold payments, and we do that for up to 3 months. And then after 3 months, if we still don't have the audit, rather than the contracts being automatically canceled, the board considers cancellation of the contracts. So this memo, the first purpose of this memo is to give you the history of why we're in that, why that is the rule now, what has happened till then. I have come to believe that if I make a decision to sanction related to a compliance issue and don't tell you every single thing I know about the situation, then when you are asked to reconsider my decision, you don't have enough information and you only have 5 minutes to do it in public. So I want to just, in the future, if I see that you're going to be in that position, I will do better to provide you as much background as possible. So this is trying to get you caught up on the financial requirements in one thing. So there's a lot of context here. There was a period of time when staff were still being requested to give more time for audits. And it was many, many, many audits were late. At the same time, the county's audit was also late. It became very difficult to do anything about anybody's late audit because our own audit was late. So this is why the rules didn't really change to the form they're in currently until about 3 years ago. And then we've been tweaking them a little bit ever since. So you can see like, some of the things we tried to do to help folks really weren't like, it wasn't quite enough help in any case. Like what agencies really need a good accountant on staff or on contract to help. Even small agencies really need that. And then for a while, there was a shortage of CPA firms. We don't think there's a shortage anymore of even local CPA capacity to do the independent audits. It's just engaging with them in time and having your own books in order seems to be the magic. And we are hard pressed to really help a lot toward that. There's not a whole lot we can do. The board tried a couple of things, little like small contracts with financial professionals to help a few agencies get their books in order. Those experiments worked really well, but it's hard to do that even-handedly. So, and also both of those people moved away. So we don't have those resources anymore. So it's really kind of back to the agencies to plan for, to spend money on the financial professionals that you need to help you do the good work in all the ways and all the things that means. And And then we also are finding like, you know, like if, I don't know, there's a whole lot in here. There's also a list, it starts on page 123. There's a history of each time, the first several are when staff were making the exceptions. So you can see where there was kind of like a burgeoning problem, which is the first change in the rules. And then there's a list after that, since the rules changed so that now you have to talk about that. There's a whole bunch of those, and this also corresponded with COVID. So initially your decisions were like, oh my gosh, like nobody can do anything right now because of COVID. So what are we going to do to keep the service capacity anywhere near what we had? So those, you can see the links. Every one of these is a link to a board packet. I did have to fix a couple of the links. I'm really sorry that the links weren't working. We'll deal with the causes of that another day. And then finally, the current requirements, which they're posted as addendum and they're on the desks too. And now here's where we shift gears to another thing. There is a coming situation. Promises audit is expected by September 30th. If it gets here by September 30th, we're good. No problem. We can start paying them. We can release the 3 months of withheld payments so far this year on both of the contracts. Everything is great. If it doesn't come, we can't talk to you about that again until 3 weeks into the October, after which then the agency will have in good faith provided the services at their own risk, and you will be asked to make a decision about canceling the contract after the fact, which I think puts you in a slightly unfair position. There's a little bit, now you have some human cost if we wait till October. But you absolutely have the option to do nothing and wait till October, or to make a decision now about what we should do if the audit is not delivered by September 30th. So I'm sorry, is that too many words?
I don't think so. I actually was wondering, Lynn, before we move to discussion, if you could highlight like two things. One is from page 122, 123, regarding the conversation with the CPA firm. And if you mentioned this in brief earlier, I apologize, but I think it's really important information to highlight for everybody about audit things.
So on the way to constructing all of this historical information, a bunch of staff were in the office or digging through shared files to find details for me. And we were talking about what appears to be the average time to complete an audit under today's conditions, whatever they may be. What's the reality? And we did find that in the last 3 years, there's been slight improvement. The average time is a little bit less every year. So the situation is getting marginally better, but I do think the N is too small to go celebrate that. So I asked Chris Wilson to call the audit firm who seems to be handling the most of our local agency audits right now. And they've done many audits for you in the past. So we know that they know what we're looking for. Whenever we get an audit from them, we don't have to ask them to go back and do the thing they forgot to do. They really know what to do. So the question was, how much time does it take to do an audit? And the answers are on page 122. The answers are basically, if everything is in order, it can take as little as 4 to 5 weeks to complete an audit, but making sure everything in order is still the issue. That there is a lot to that really a financial professional on behalf of the agency needs to be doing prior to when the audit starts. So, and then she said an average is 6 to 8 weeks. That's more typical, but there are some new barriers where agencies may have relied on their independent audit firm to fix problems as they were going through an audit. If they found a problem in the agency's books in the past, the firm could fix the problem. Now it's illegal for them to do that. So if there's anything wrong with the agency's books, when that's discovered in the independent audit, now the agency has to go hire a financial professional to fix their books. So it's kind of like they're sort of cornered now in the situation where like they either got to hire somebody during the contract year or after the fact to get things in order. And if they do it during the contract year, there's a good chance of a timely audit. If they don't do it, that there's almost no chance of a 6 to 8 week completion. So, and this person understands, and we understand that we are dealing with a lot of very small agencies that do not have the financial capacity to have, like a wizard accountant, and we understand that. So she also made some observations that like sometimes maybe people don't really understand these contract requirements until after the contract year is over. So that must be very stressful for everyone.
So to kind of draw a comparison, my understanding is that our requirements are that an agency must turn in an audit or a like the financial review compilation, whatever they're required to do. They have 6 months from the end of their fiscal year to do that. And then if they do not make that deadline, we hold payments for 3 months. And only at that point, so 9 months after the end of the fiscal year, does it come to our attention in the board meeting. And our understanding from these local CPAs is that an audit in a best case scenario, if everything's in order, could be completed in 4 to 5 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. Okay. I guess I'm going to ask if, before we move into the program specific section, if any board members want to share any comments on what we've heard so far, because we know this is a lot of information.
I'd just like to say that audit requirements haven't really changed, that it's always been part of the stipulation for receiving funding from us. That's not new information for anyone receiving our funding. Nobody likes an audit, like the agency I work at gets audited. It's a terrible time. But, when you receive public funding, the people who are providing that funding are stewards of that public funding and need accountability, right? So none of this is new information. I think most of the agencies that we work with do understand the requirements regardless of that being mentioned. So that's where I'm coming from during this discussion.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
And to be clear, the agencies know these timelines. They're fully aware of them. They understand them from the contract.
I cannot attest to what anyone understands. They're provided the information. Before applying for funding, you're asked to read these requirements and sign that you understand them. And then the contract repeats all of these requirements, and it also incorporates the funding guidelines as part of the contract. So the information is there. I don't know if maybe it's not understandable. That's on me. And I can always work on making things more clear, but I can't say if people do understand. You know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I wouldn't put the blame on you. I mean, if you sign off on it, it means you understand. I just wanted to make sure that all of this is in their contract and they know before they sign, right? Okay.
Well, and I think that this has been a topic we have spent lots and lots and lots of time on. And I have made some pretty honest statements of as you start to let things slide, things start sliding faster. And every one of us in this room was affected by the pandemic. And I think we recognize that personally. We recognized it in our communities and in the people they were serving. And I think that it made it easier as a board for us to say, okay, we're going to let it slide a little bit. And again, I think we as a board made the right decision to get a little lenient, but I think it's time that, and I had asked, Lynn this, I'm like, okay, but all of this is in the application. All of this is in the contract, all of this. And she's like, Yes, yes, yes. So again, I don't want us to feel like bad guys if we have to say, hey, we got to get back to following the rules. And so it is kind of a difficult conversation, but I think oh my gosh, Lynn and your staff have done a phenomenal job of showing every step of the way how we have communicated. You know, I've seen some correspondences from Leon to people. I mean, we all have. They've been in our packets of, you know, hey, if you have any questions, please reach out. Lynn will say, hey, if you have any questions, please reach out. Chris, do you need me to sit down and go over this with you? So, you know, I don't want to play sometimes it's time to be the tough parent, but maybe we're going to have to say, hey, we got to get back to the black and white paper here, and we got to follow what, you know, we're asking everyone to do, because some agencies are kind of checking each box each year and others are struggling. So that's just my thought.
Real quick, we've been discussing this ever since I've been on the board. I'm going to be the bad guy moving forward on this. We can't just do this. Other organizations are watching it and they're like, well, hey, there's just a rubber stamp. We can do it as well. Even if they're not doing it outright, they're subconsciously thinking it. And yeah, I'm going to be we'll move to vote, you'll see. But yeah, I can no longer do this anymore. I mean, my single vote probably isn't going to stop anyone from getting funding, but you're still going to get a lot of no's from me moving forward when you talk about extensions.
Thank you, everyone, for what you've shared so far. I think like highlighting sort of the difficulties of this conversation and the recognition that we have these requirements for a reason. Our very last action we just took was about was in large part what happens when with the fund balance and what we have available when we're having to make payments so far beyond the contract year. That is very difficult, and I want to make sure that we're protecting the fund, because we are here to serve the community as stewards of this fund. So I wanted to mention that. With that, we will have more time for discussion, but I wanted to ask Lynn if you could share a little more about the history of the the audit history with this organization that is coming up for discussion tonight.
Well, I think the first time, so Promise purchased the Francis Nelson facility and operations from an organization called Chick. And I was not in this role when Chick ran the operations. I do not know if there were discussions about the audits back then, but they were late back then. When Promise purchased Francis Nelson, the director at that time spent a lot of time with us and also came to the board explaining what some of the issues were. So I was very clear on these are like very different issues than what some of the other agencies were dealing with later. So all of it got compounded by COVID, but there were some very particular problems that Chick perhaps inherited from the prior owner. There were just, the state had set very low reimbursement rates for this facility, lower than any of it similar to it in the state, despite accolades for the quality of service. They were still getting these really low reimbursement rates. And because this community also includes other large healthcare providers, it was really difficult for Chick, then Promise, to attract a diverse payer mix. So to have clients who have Blue Cross and other private insurance, and then clients who have Medicaid, and then clients who don't have any insurance, it would be easier for the organization to have stable revenue if they had a more diverse payer mix. So she was working on both of those things. But the other thing that's true is when you have one late audit, then the next one is going to be harder to deliver on time too. And so the structural issues were because of this low revenue, this perpetually low revenue, they had one financial staff person managing I don't know how many different fiscal years and how many different contracts, but this is a multiply funded organization that keeps growing. So the financials were way too complicated for one financial staff person who resigned. and like maybe resigned in the middle of one of these late audits. So that was then made the audits later than they had been. So this is a very long story, and I'm not sure, like I haven't heard lately, did the state ever repair those very low rates, which I mean may have been based on incomplete data like that. It'd be great to fix the structural problem there, or if, you know, has the payer mix gotten more diverse? They have gotten a lot of new grants to open new facilities, to provide different services throughout the community. So I know that the revenue is growing, but I'm not sure that for this piece, for what we're trying to do, which is mental health services for very poor people, if the, you know, I just don't know, like, I don't know how it's going on those two structural issues, or if that even matters. But that's part of the story of how their audits came to be late.
The structure impacted all of the agencies, right? Including COVID, right? So they all had the same challenges, right? But then some were able to get their audits in on time.
I think there was a period of time where you could say if an agency is relying on state funding for most of its revenue, they're in danger of not being in business. That hasn't been fully right-sized. So you're right. These are shared dangers of being in this business. But for some of the small organizations where you're the only funding source, it's certainly different. You have the opportunity to say to an agency, like, ask for as much money as you actually need. You know, like some of these other problems are maybe advocacy issues we could take up. But so anyway, like I just wanted to share that background, that this has been going on for a long time, and we've had lots and lots of communication with the organization about what happened, but I don't know if those two things have been fixed. And they are, like I said earlier, they've emailed a couple times with confidence that this is going to be done on time by September 30th, and that next year's will be on time. So I don't know. That seems to be like sort of, that's the hope always, I think.
I know that we have some potential motions here. There's sort of three sets. So one motion that's like two motions in one, and then a third motion, like we could make one kind of set of these this evening. Could you explain what these are and if I described that properly?
Yes, I'm just looking at the chat. Okay. Chandra, thank you for helping people on the Zoom to access the information they're looking for. That's great. We hope that everything is available in the archived.
Another just comment from Carrie Hacker, excuse me. Many agencies had experienced staffing issues as well. And so that has also started to level off.
Okay, so I've got the decisions on the screen. The first one is to say, this is if the audit is not here by September 30th, just cancel the contracts and continue withholding the payments, the three payments that are currently withheld, until the audit is submitted, reviewed. That's one option. Or continue the contracts even if the audit doesn't make it. And there's a little bracket there where you could be specific, like how much additional time you would give for completion. So you could, this is basically giving an extension. And then if you do that, there's a second motion which says to continue withholding payments, because we need to know what to do with both things. Like, what do we do with the money we're already holding? What do we do with obligations going forward? So then the third option is to defer a decision until next month or the month after, and to make and that would be in the event that the audit doesn't make it on September 30th.
Thank you for that. So the options, and we could write another motion on the spot if we want to. I don't know if anybody wants to do that, but the options would be to cancel the contracts if the audit doesn't make it on time. If it does make it on time, then it would not be canceled. Second option would be to continue the contracts and continue withholding payments. We could specify a time frame for that. Or the third option would be to just defer this until a specified date. And or potentially, miscellaneous other motion that is yet to be written. And do not fear, I will get us through the motion part of this once we figure out what one we are going to be voting on. So I'd like to open for board discussion on this issue.
I guess I'll start. I think based on some earlier conversation we had about 25 minutes ago, I think I was feeling a consensus that people are like, we've laid out what the expectations are. And I've read the email that says, yes, it'll be in your hands, Lynn, by September 30th. So, if someone wants to give me a green light, I feel comfortable going with the first option because they've assured us it's going to be here. And it'll just put it in writing that we as a board said, from this date forward, we are going to follow our memorandums. So that's my thought.
Thank you.
Second.
Well,
Sorry. I don't think that was an official motion yet, but it's a discussion of a potential motion.
so, I've been on this board for a while now. And, was, with Jane and I think, and Elaine too. And I think the three of us know the history of all the decisions we've had to make over the last 5 years now. And, I thought the last chance was when you, Matt Hausman, and Julian Rappaport voted no. And I thought that would be the wake-up call for Promise to understand that that was your last chance. And obviously, with the pandemic, we wanted to just make sure we can preserve as many agencies as possible until things settle down. And now things have settled down. People have staff, and I don't want agencies to use the excuse of, for us, it's like, if we don't fund them, then it really hurts people in the community. And that's who we're here to serve. But at the end of the day, it's not us failing. It would be the agency failing after ample opportunities to correct the ship. And, typically when I look at agencies that are having this kind of difficulty repeated over the many years, it's obviously a red flag that there's something else wrong underlying in the agency and how they're functioning, and a sign of that there's a lot of other things that that we don't know about. And I'm hoping that was the case in the past and now things have corrected. And so for me, I would move to cancel if they don't get to, if they don't turn it in by September 30th. And what I would say is I'm not going to reverse my decision on that, and that you would just be able to apply next year when you have your audit and everything in order, and take that time to kind of correct the ship and make sure that the organization is functioning to the level that is required of the board. So.
I think I was clear where I was at. I don't know if anyone actually is opposed to just moving forward with the first motion. That might be the better question to speed stuff up.
If anyone wants to make a motion, we will have time for discussion after the motion as well.
I make the motion to cancel Promise Healthcare's PY 2025 contract for PHC Wellness and Mental Health Services with no further obligation as of September 30th, 2024, in the event of the agency's board-approved independent CPA audit report has not been submitted by that date, and to continue withholding the currently held payments until the audit has been submitted, reviewed, and any issues resolved.
Thank you very much. Can I get a second?
I second.
We have multiple seconds. I'm not sure who it was, but I trust that that was caught. Any further discussion?
I think we all kind of said our piece.
I do want to add the importance of these services on our community and the importance of the infrastructure and financial accountability pieces of our contracts are really, really important. And my understanding is that this agency will deliver the audit on time. And if that is the case, then this will be a moot issue. So I truly, truly hope that does happen. And the thing about having this discussion now is that there is still time for that audit to come in on time. So I just wanted to add that. Any other discussion before we vote? All right, seeing as none, there is no other discussion. There is a motion on the table to cancel Promise Healthcare's PY 2025 contracts for PHC Wellness and Mental Health Services with no further obligation as of September 30th, 2024, in the event of the agency's board approved independent CPA audit report has not been submitted by that date, and to continue with holding the currently held payments until the audit has been submitted, reviewed, and any issues resolved. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Chris Minor,
Yep.
Tony Nichols,
Yes.
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 Yes. With that, this motion passes. Now, thank you all for that very long, very important discussion. We will now move to our next item of old business, which is a report from the Evaluation Capacity Building Project. My understanding is that the evaluation team is on Zoom and will be providing a brief update to us via Zoom.
Hello, everyone. Happy hump day. All right. Tough crowd. So Jacinda Darius from the Family Resiliency Center. I have a short report today. So we have been working with 4 agencies on their programs in doing technical assistance, and it's been going really well. Our technical assistance has spanned from helping with logic models to development of survey to assess outcome variables, to thinking through new data collection methods and creating systems for them to capture moments and qualitative data that they're experiencing and are hearing anecdotally to actually have a system for collecting those data. So that's been going really well. And we have been busy planning some workshops and microlearnings for this fall. So our upcoming workshop, we're planning on the date, probably will be November, to have agency members come and learn about, it'll be a virtual workshop to learn about the repository of outcome measures that exists and helping to identify ways in which it's working well, ways in which it could be improved, and actually introducing it to agencies that may have not used it in the past and how to use it effectively, as well as learning about effectively choosing outcome measures. So we will be having participants do a little bit of pre-work, not too much homework, but a bit of looking at the microlearnings that we've already developed on differences between process and outcome evaluation so that they can get the background that they need and come into that workshop also knowing about the outcomes that they're currently exploring, and then coming into that workshop and having a hands-on approach to using the current repository and learning a bit more about how to choose effective outcomes. So those are our major microlearnings and that are going to occur this fall. We're finishing our series on logic models, the microlearnings for that. We have debuted with our working group one of our segments of the logic model, which is outputs, which we know that agencies tend to have difficulty, not just agencies in general, people may have difficulty differentiating between what's an output and an outcome. So we have debuted that with our working group, and they gave us some suggestions. And so that's going into final production. So more to come soon with seeing our series on the logic model microlearnings. And we're also creating a microlearning that will be debuted in the spring on best practices in reporting and presenting data, so that they can tell the stories that they're wanting to tell with their data about the great work that they're doing. And that will be followed up with an in-person training on storytelling in later spring. So there's a lot of information very quickly, but I'm happy to answer any questions and elaborate on anything that you want me to.
Thank you so, so much. Any questions or discussion from the board? I just wanted to thank you all for your work and just mention, like, I think the discussion about logic models and storytelling, I think, are really, really important. I know that oftentimes talking about when we learn about logic models in this field, if we do, which we might not, it's oftentimes just like, here it is, here is an example, figure it out, and being able to break that down into smaller parts and really understand the importance and the helpfulness of that tool can be really, really helpful. So thank you. Any other thoughts from board members or staff?
I know y'all don't want to stay here all night, so I got to be careful, but I just like, given that we also have spend a lot of time with agencies to improve the program reporting, the service reporting. I'm especially appreciating the work of Jacinda and her team today, and I'm appreciating the Mental Health Board for funding this and a similar project for over 10 years to help everybody to get over the hump of like finding easier ways to meet reporting requirements and to make it meaningful for all parties. So thanks, you guys. It's good stuff.
I guess the only thing I'd add is, when I first started here, like one of the big things is like making sure that I don't know, in medicine, we have evidence-based medicine and, having agencies, know what an output is versus an outcome and having effective surveys to be able to kind of go down that line of, are we effective? Not just, does it feel good? Like, does this sound great? Okay, that we should do it. But it's like, well, is that actually making a difference? And that's really what the goal is making differences and not just being good on paper. So.
Very, very good point. Thank you, everybody, for your comments, and thank you to our team for your great work. Thank you so much. So we will move on to our next item of old business, and we will go through this end of the agenda quickly. I think we got through the beginning pretty fast, but I know that last discussion was a long one. So our next item on the agenda is Disability Resource Expo update, which is there's promo materials that can be found on pages 130 to 134. Lynn or anybody you'd like to designate, I'd love to hear about this update.
I do know that we're going to start send out the sign up for volunteers. So just be on the lookout for that. That's the major update.
And I'll just add that the event is, the expo is on October 26, 2024 at Marketplace Mall. So very good to hear, and you can peruse these materials at your leisure. Any other comments on this?
On the same day, there's another event at Parkland College, and I'm not sure if everyone is aware of it. It's the Black Mental Health and Wellness Conference, the second annual one, from 8 to 4. And I'm actually going to be a part of that one, and I'm presenting at that one. So although I'll be at the Disability Resource Expo, I also have to be at that one. So that's actually a big event that I think a lot of us should try to attend that one too.
I wish there was a way to get people not to schedule their things at the same day as the expo, because we tend to book it a year in advance, but there are really only a few weekend days in the fall that are okay for events. So I think the best we can do is a shuttle from your conference to this one. And I hate leaving the house, but I'm never sorry when I go to the expo. Like, it's so fun. And I'm sure that I will also not be sorry about the conference. So see ya on Saturday, the 26th.
Well, at some point, but I'm going to actually make this a priority because this is actually about Black mental health. And I think we do need to make it a priority in our community. I don't know about the crossover and scheduling. That's way beyond my head, but I mean, Parkland College is sponsoring this, and we don't have enough of these type of conferences in the area to boost up the mental health and wellness of the Black community. So I want to make that a priority for us as well. So if we can all divide the time, not just me, that would be great.
And I'm going to incentivize my Parkland students to come out there. I have about 13 nursing students and 12 of them are Black women. So
Hey, Lisa, would you be able to maybe share some of that info or link to Lynn? And maybe there's a way that we can have Allison like do a little plug. Hey, after you see us at the mall, make sure you stop at Parkland College. Also, maybe they could be in contact, and if they could have someone representing their event at our event saying, hey, now you've been here, you still have time to hit the event over there. I mean, it's just an idea. Again, this is the first I've heard of it, but oh my gosh, let's try to support both events because that's what we're here about, is supporting it.
And I did. I thank you. I just sent it over to Lynn. There's a huge flyer about it. And also, I'm not sure if you all are aware of this, but Friday and Saturday, there's also an event called the Champaign Urbana Black African Arts Festival. So that is a big event that's going to be happening as well. And so I guess I'm mentioning all this because I'm not sure if you all have heard of these things, but anytime we have the opportunity to focus on mental health in specific communities, I think we should do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I think the opportunity for people to attend both events, I think, kind of with how the expo is structured, I think like that could potentially, some people could drop by the expo, then go to the conference, or after the conference, drop by the expo. I think that would work very well. So that is wonderful to hear.
So just looking online, it looks like there's no registration fee required. Breakfast and lunch will be served. There are some vegetarian and gluten-free options. You have to register though. It looks like you can find it on the Champaign Community Coalition.org website. Looks like there's a Michael
which
Washington.
event is this? Is this the expo or?
No, it's
yours?
Yeah.
The expo has candy.
You can email Michael Washington at outreach&engagement@champaign.il.gov.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of this information. Next, we will move to the PY24 fourth quarter reports and data, which are on pages 135 to 177. Any comments from our staff on these reports?
I can share a few things. First, I want to say thank you to all of the agencies that were able to submit their reports on time. It makes a worldly difference to the staff, myself, Kim, and Lynn, to be able to read the reports, to go through the data and see just how well you're doing, if there are any hiccups. And so again, thank you for submitting your reports on time. I think we were just short maybe two reports out of 40, 50 reports on the MHB side. So kudos to the agencies. They're really rocking with getting their reports in. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I thought you were going to speak, but it was just the mic was on. Yeah, I just wanted to add, I really appreciate reading the narrative comments on the reports that have that, and where we get to hear about sort of examples of people that have been served, and kind of situations that they really kind of make the services come alive. And I think that really links well to the storytelling, microlearning, and workshop that's going to be happening with the evaluation capacity building project as well. Because I think I'd love to see that kind of thing in every single report. So any other comments on these from board or staff? All right, seeing as none, we will now move to successes and other agency input. So this is the opportunity for agencies to share anything they'd like to. I reserve the authority to limit individual participation to 5 minutes or total time to 20 minutes. Is there anybody, doesn't seem like in person, but anybody online that would like to share? All right, seeing as none, next we'll move to board reports. Do any board members or staff who attend other boards have anything they'd like to share there?
Yes, I do. I went to a community coalition as usual, and I'll just mention two presentations that have to do with agencies we support. There was a presentation from the Youth Assessment Center. I see that Carmen is on Zoom. And it was, what really struck me about it was that if I were a parent who needed that for a child sitting there and not knowing what it was, I would have been very encouraged by the level of specificity and the kinds of help. So good job there. And the other program was a Promise Healthcare program that they have partnered with Urbana schools and I mean, in Urbana and in Rantoul, but not in Champaign. But they are now going to have a collaboration with the schools. And I think the U of I School of Social Work is also going to be working on that in Champaign. So both of those were good to hear about.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Any other board reports? All right, seeing none. Next, we have county board input. Jen Straub, anything?
Our next meeting is tomorrow night at 6:30, same room.
All right, thank you for that. Next, we have Champaign County Developmental Disabilities Board input. Lynn is racing back, so we must have some input.
No, there's not. They met this morning and did, they did very much the same business, but they did not have to make any tough decisions or even easy decisions like about fund balance, though they did talk about fund balance. Anyway, so it was a much quicker meeting, and I know I'm always trying to make you jealous of the DD board so that like more people will want to be on the DD board, but now they have too many more candidates than they need. So another reason to be jealous of them, but that's really all I've got.
Yeah, we don't need anybody leaving our board also. But our study session next Wednesday, the 25th, is it the 25th will be a joint meeting with the Developmental Disabilities Board, a joint study session, not meeting, where we will be hearing from self-advocates within the community. So it's sure to be a wonderful event, similar to a study session we had last year. So, all right, any I guess next we have board announcements and input. Do we have any announcements from board members?
I just want to share, I'm not sure if you all know this or not, but at least once or twice a month, I actually talk about mental health on 90.1 FM, WEFT. And I was just on there this past Sunday from 9 to 11. I'll be on again the last Sunday of the month. I think it's the 29th. So it's a public radio station and it's global. So they're hearing me talk about quite a few issues in mental health from a global standpoint. So that's all.
That is amazing. And I will be sure to tune in. Any other board announcements?
I was going to remind everybody that one of our groups, the Up Center, is having their Pride Fest weekend, and they've got stuff all week long, but the parade, which is my favorite, and the like little vendors and all that is on Saturday. But Up Center has a great schedule of all kinds of things that you can check out.
Thank you so, so much. I have an announcement, I guess a thank you and an announcement regarding one of our staff members. So I just want to give a moment to shout out our Chris Wilson, who has been working very hard, often kind of behind the scenes, not always in the public eye on our financial management and supporting our agencies around that. He's also been really helpful in talking to board members and helping them understand our requirements and these complex issues. And I also wanted to congratulate him because he was just named to the Champaign or the Central Illinois 40 under 40. So he will be honored at some point for that October 24th at, is it the I Hotel? I don't know. It was at the I Hotel last year. So we're very proud of him. Any other board announcements? We will give a nice round of applause. All right, seeing as none, unfortunately, we cannot yet adjourn because we have to move into closed session. Okay, so we will be striking part of the motion from the revised agenda and more reverting to our original agenda. So I'm going to try to get us through this. I've had to facilitate closed sessions several times, even though I haven't facilitated these meetings very often. So that's fun. So board staff and attorneys request that the board continue to maintain as closed the minutes of closed sessions held February 19th, 2020, February 26th, 2020, and July 21st, 2021. These have been distributed to board members for review, along with other closed session minutes from February 22nd, 2023. And so we will need a motion to move to executive session to discuss these. So we have a motion in the packet that we can use. Can I entertain anybody to read that motion or make that motion? For ease, I will go ahead and move to do this, and we could get a second from someone else. So I will move to make a motion to move to executive session, exception 5 ILCS 120/2C11 of the Open Meetings Act, to review status of minutes of prior closed session meetings, and that the following individuals remain present: members of the Champaign County Mental Health Board, Executive Director Canfield, and Operations and Compliance Coordinator Howard Gallo. Can I get a second?
Seconded.
Oh, that has been seconded. Any discussion? Guess we can't really discuss the contents. So the motion on the table, I'm not going to move to executive session. Do I have to read the whole thing again? Okay. Blah, blah, blah. All those in favor of moving to executive session to do all the things I just said, please say aye.
Aye.
We did a roll call vote to move to closed session.
Do it.
Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Tony Nichols,
Yes.
Elaine Valencia.
Yes.
Jen Straub,
Yes.
James Randall, John Paul Joachim,
Abstain.
Lisa Liggins Chambers,
Yes.
Chris Minor,
Okay.
Molly McClay.
Yes. The motion passes, so we will be moving into closed session. Are we in a situation where we can do that within this room?
I think we turn the microphones off and I can record the meeting separately. We're not.
Is the Zoom off now?
No, but it's not, if we don't use the microphones, if we turn them off, we can record it separately. I mean, I can see if that room is available.
And then I'm gonna recuse myself from the meeting.
All right, for those who are online, we are moving into closed session and we will come back to take a roll call vote and adjourn. So stay tuned. So now we will take a roll call to move ourselves out of closed session and back into this original meeting. Can I get a roll call, please? Do we?
Is that your motion?
Okay. I would like to move to end our closed session and return to the original meeting. We have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call? Or is that not what we're supposed to do yet? Okay, can I get a roll call to bring us back into this session?
Jen Stroud.
Yes.
Jane Sprandel. John Paul, oh, he's not here. Lisa Liggins Chambers.
Yes.
Chris Minor.
Yes.
Tony Nichols.
Yes.
Elaine Palencia.
Yes.
Molly McClay.
Yes. All right, so now we are back in this meeting. I would like to entertain a motion to act on the items we discussed in the closed session.
I move to accept the February 19th, 2020, February 26th, 2020, and July 21st, 2021 closed session minutes as presented or revised, not revised, as presented, to continue maintaining them as closed and to destroy the recording of the July 21st, 2021 meeting.
Thank you very much. Can I get a?
Seconded.
All right, thank you very much. Any discussion? We cannot discuss, so seeing none, there is a motion on the table to accept the February 19th, 2020, February 26th, 2020, and July 21st, 2021 closed session minutes as presented, to continue maintaining them as closed and to destroy the recording of the July 21st, 2021 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The motion passes. And next, I would like to move to accept the February 22nd, 2023 closed session minutes as presented, to make them open and to destroy the recording of the meeting. Can I get a second?
I will second that.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and it has been seconded. Any discussion? We cannot really discuss that. So on the motion to accept the February 22nd, 2023 closed session minutes as presented, make them open and to destroy the recording of the meeting, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. The motion passes. And now I call this meeting officially adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a great week.